All right, let's go. Let's go.
All right, thanks, Will. Needed that. Needed that today. Needed a little kick in the pants. Okay, we are live. Data Study Podcast, episode 27, brought to you by CC Masonry. Will, how are we doing?
Doing well. Let's go. Let's go.
That was a bit of a cheap ad for my boys back in Dedham. So, you gotta help me out with this one. So, we're in 2020, and one of the biggest in vogue trends is mindfulness. Mindfulness will make you a better friend, a better significant other, a better spouse. I don't think it's much bullshit, but I think that mindfulness is a great way to put a band-aid on a wound that a lot of people really need stitches or more attention for. They might need surgery for it. They might need some plastic surgery for it, what have you. I don't think that it is a panacea, and it really needs to be a little bit more of a nuanced discussion around mindfulness. Why am I wrong on this?
Okay, so I don't think most people who are starting mindfulness are like, I don't think they're reaching for that as like a last-ditch effort. Like I need serious help. What should I do? Mindfulness. I don't think people are doing that. Like, I just straight up don't. I do think some people might, if you get introduced to it early, it could grow. Like if you build that muscle out, it could be more preventative with a long-term lens, maybe.
Yeah, I think I might be pulling from my own personal experience, which is a great way to deal with life. Say this happened to me, so therefore it must happen to everyone. But I think for me, it's like I have developed a pretty solid practice around it. But I noticed that it helped me like deal with some personal issues that I probably should have just like gone and solved, as opposed to like just dealing with the emotions that they invoked. Right. So I'm good at the emotions that they invoked. I'm good at dealing with them, but it helped me like procrastinate a little bit on some of the work that I should have been doing.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting point. So like, it'll help some people become more comfortable in a bad situation and therefore not leave or change it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out where the line is there.
Yeah, I think most mindfulness, it's never marketed as like a panacea, right? But maybe if you read enough like top articles about mindfulness, maybe you might get that impression.
Right, panacea was a bit of I don't know if I had the great word choice there, but
no, but I think it's weird. I don't think it's like a life and death sort of issue, but I think it is definitely like it might keep you in a rut, like it might make you more comfortable in your rut as opposed to getting you out of your rut.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Here's your logical fallacy. So, Dan, you're getting close to becoming a world-class trombone player. But back when you were a teenager, your trombone instructor, he said, young Dan, you must practice an hour a week. No, an hour a day. Nay. And you went home and you told your dad. Your dad said, young Dan, this is wrong. You need to practice 3 hours a day. And young Dan heard these words and said, you know what? They can't decide. Therefore, I'm not going to do anything. what's the logical fallacy?
Sounds like some just preteen angst there. Considering how I deal with my problems now still. So, hey, I'm not going to do anything, whatever. Can't listen, no authority's got me down.
The key reason why young Dan decided not to practice was that his dad and his instructor couldn't agree. So therein lies the fallacy. Does that help?
A good hint, yeah. I would say something to do with consensus fallacy. It's like we don't exactly know what to do, so therefore we shouldn't do anything.
It's called an inflation of conflict fallacy. So where basically experts or scientists can't agree on an exact solution, and so what they do instead is people decide, oh well, since they can't agree, then they must just all be wrong.
Right.
I think you see that in a lot of cases where, again, it's kind of come back to this lack of nuance in the understanding of, what does a study even mean, right? Like, a new study came out. Okay, well, what is that even? What are the actual implications versus the headline associated with it? People sometimes don't have the tools to understand that, and then maybe get crippled to inaction from it.
Yeah, it's tough. And you see it in a good example around, just getting folks to build a consensus and move forward on a given plan, whether it's a small company of 5 people or 500 people or a political party at the highest level. It's like we don't exactly know what to do. Like a part of us wants to do X, part of us wants to do Y, and how do we get consensus to do something, right? Doing something is better than just kind of floating around and not doing as much as you should be. So.
Yeah, and that kind of comes back to your point the other, I think it was a few episodes ago, where you're talking about how like you just need to get your feet wet and just like start doing something. Like that's just like you can't fall in that paralysis trap of overthinking it, right?
I know that. Yeah, that's something I've struggled with. So it's like when in doubt, keep moving, man, keep moving. You need to have a group, get them moving. Tip of the day. For all those folks out there looking for love, man, a lot of folks are doing it online today, using dating apps, swipe left, swipe right, Hinge, Bumble, whatever you got at your fingertips. My tip is you want to look slightly less attractive in your pictures on your profile than you do when you meet in person. And the reason for this is I think it's better to have undersell, overperform mindset than the opposite. The opposite is what you see more commonly, whereas oversell, underperform. So that's my tip to all you folks seeking love out there.
Right. So I have a question, Dan. So do you think romance would benefit, or do you think it would be worse off if people's expectations were always met?
Expectations is a tough one, man. That's like I think romance would be lesser, but outcomes would likely be better if folks kept their expectations not low, but like within reason. Sometimes we have a bit of a tendency to get swept up in the moment, especially if meeting someone new, and once you hit like especially the honeymoon phase can be pretty quick, and you get into the normalcy phase with someone. So I think expectations are good, but not necessarily.
I think also just would you bring that up on the to the person you want to see? Would you be like, hey, like I did this on purpose? Like that would come up eventually, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just something about not necessarily fabricating or like making yourself look like something that you aren't necessarily, because
if you're consciously
hurts you.
Well, wouldn't the virtuous profile picture be an exact on the money portrayal, right? So you're kind of being deceitful, but in a harmless way, right?
Ooh.
It's that you have their intentions at heart, right? In quotation marks.
Yeah. I guess I haven't thought that too much.
Because that brings up another issue. We probably don't have time to dig into it, but it's just like how much tactics and game theory is acceptable in relationships? It's like because I mean you can really get deep into that stuff if you
can get deep in the weeds on that. Yeah, you don't want necessarily like how much authenticity versus strategic stuff.
Exactly. Okay, here's a fun magic wand. So everyone says, jack of all trades, master of none. Well, okay, you now have a magic wand, and it turns everyone into a jack of all trades and master of none. So no experts anymore, but very well-rounded people can multi-discipline exposure. They can like everyone can have conversations with everyone about everything, but no experts. Or everyone's only an expert. They have no idea about anything else. What do you use your magic wand for?
This is a funny one. I think that just out of a curiosity, stream of consciousness, I would say the latter, where everyone is an expert in something. The tiniest thing, like, the first example I thought was like, shoe tying. You can't even tie your own shoes unless you consult this one or two specific experts in the space of shoe tying, and they're so easily quick that every day they tie everyone's shoes some way somehow. That would be super interesting to see how society organizes around that type of expertise.
Yeah, because our society has so many assumptions that, like, okay, most people can do most of these things, and then
Right.
there's some things where we need experts. But it'd be interesting too. I always thought it'd be interesting. I was thinking the other day about, like, incremental improvement, and it's like there's some tasks that we just like don't try to improve anymore. It's just like we're good enough. It's like washing a bowl, doing
Yeah.
dishes. It's like we don't really try to maximize or become experts in that. You probably could,
Yeah.
probably not. I can't imagine it's that much more work to become a master of washing dishes. But it's like some tasks we just don't want to be experts in. It's like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not worthwhile. So.
Yeah. Which would you choose then? So would you go more on the jack of all trades side of the spectrum?
I would pick the expertise side because I think that's what moves the stakes forward.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure there are many. I mean, if I had to pick one or the other, obviously the answer is both. But
Yeah, I mean, to have 7 billion experts, so that would be so wild to see like that many experts. Like, I'm an expert on this incredibly niche thing that everyone around can like consult.
dude, the conferencing industry through the roof. So many conferences all the time.
Oh, yeah. So many people just teaching at all times. That'd be quite sight to see. Ooh, bad clap. Better clap. Better clap.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, so thank you to CC Masonry, our first sponsor. Did a great job. Anyone that needs their yard amended or improved in the greater Boston area.
The expertise question is interesting, though. I think that's. I mean, we mentioned it last episode, right? With like, kind of imposter syndrome. When do you become an expert? Is the term expert kind of just like, I feel like a lot of these terms, like language in general is very like binary. It's like you're this, giving names
Yeah.
to things, right? Like language is literally the naming of things, and it's like,
Yeah.
I think as we come to a deeper understanding of something, you really realize it's like this kind of spectrum understanding of it. And even with words, it's like, okay, well, what is a sandwich? And you ever seen those like funny memes of like, this is Pop-Tart is a sandwich? And it's like, come on, no, it's not a sandwich. But then you have someone make a good argument. It's like, oh, technically it's a sandwich. So it's like,
Yeah.
these words that we use are even like, there's a breadth of meaning to each one too. It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely is. And they change quickly too, right? Like 4 or 5 years ago, one word might not necessarily meant what it means today, and 5 years from now, it's going to be really different.